summoning of fear. Black magic. It is a term that is surrounded by mystery. I would like to lift the veil just a little bit. You'll be surprised how much it is doing its workings on our world today. Oh yes, it does. And if you think I'm referring to figures that act and look like Saruman, a black magician from Lord of the Rings, or Voldemort from the Harry Potter series, well, you are mistaken. If you think I'm referring to people like Aleister Crowley, you are a lot closer. Let's start this journey by analysing the very words black and magic. Bear with me, it might not be the most exciting part of the process, but a necessary step to lay the foundation of truly understanding this subject. Let us start with the word black. Black or dark are associated with the absence of light, something that cannot stand the light of day, so to speak. Within the context of magic, we will use the following working definition of black: for the benefit of the self, as opposed to white, which would be for the benefit of others. And that which is beneficiary to one person often leads to the detriment of someone else. Black or dark magic is magic that creates power over other people and their will. The second word is the word magic. The following working definition of magic will be used. Magic is an art employing some occult force of nature. Let me break this down step by step. An art is a skill acquired by experience, study, or observation. Employing would be utilizing. Force of nature is any force made available by creation. Occult means hidden. The latter is important because it means that a knowledge differential exists. And knowledge is power. The person using magic knows exactly what he is doing. For this person, it might be science or technology or a spiritual skill. But for others who are not in the know, something inexplicable happens. They might not even be aware magic is used. So now we have a better understanding of the term black magic, namely that a person has acquired skills to utilize some kind of force, which is known to them and unknown to others. This force can subsequently be used to gain power and control over a subject. To explain this a bit more, well, putting a gun to someone's head does not fit this definition. A force here is utilized to gain power over someone, but there is hardly any differential knowledge. In fact, knowledge that a gun can be lethal has to be known by the victim, otherwise this threat would not work. Now we've laid the foundation, we are ready to dig a bit deeper into one of the workings of black magic, in this case a form that is used more often than you might be aware of, the summoning of fear, a rather powerful force of nature. We start off with a fragment of a seminal talk about magic by Manley P, well known for his knowledge of the occult.
Black magic has always been a source of fear, a source of dread. It is the individual held from the freedom of his own life by fear, by anxiety, by the belief that someone has power to destroy him.
To hold someone from the freedom of his own life sounds pretty dark indeed. Key in understanding his words is the word belief. This is where the magic comes into play. To the subject, the threat is real, but the threat might not be substantial or might not even exist at all. The black magician knows this. For him it is a sort of psychology. The subject, however, isn't aware and therefore put under the spell of fear. A quote from Henry Kissinger explains this a bit further. When he addresses the Bilderberg meeting in 1992 in Evian, he said the following: "Today, Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will plead with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by their world government. Kissinger is more or less suggesting the use of fear to let people give away their individual rights. Fear of an unreal, invisible enemy. It looks like Mr. Kissinger knows a thing or two about black magic now, doesn't he? I wonder which unreal enemy he had in mind back then. Now we have narrowed down this particular kind of black magic to the creation of an unreal enemy. We might be able to recognize the use of it in our history. Think about an enemy that is not harmful at all, but is portrayed as a big threat. Or an enemy that does not even exist at all. It would take a lot of effort to convince a whole population of such a non-existing enemy. It sounds like a big operation. Total control over the information that people accept to be true is needed. In modern society, that would be government, the media, scientists, universities. In the Second World War, Nazi Germany used this form of magic to gain control over their population. Hermann Göring spilled the beans. In an interview with American psychologist G.M. Gilbert, who collected the testimonies of Nazi leaders and wrote down in his book Nuremberg Diary, he reportedly said, "Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same way in any country." I know this is hard to swallow, especially if you have great faith in governments, but you've heard it from the horse's mouth. Tell them that they are being attacked equals creating an unreal enemy. The German people were injected with fear in the 1930s to such an extent that they were willing to go to war and accept all regulations that go with it. Jews, for example, were used as an unreal enemy. The German people were convinced that Jews were to blame for a lot of their suffering. More enemies were created, skillfully putting the German people under a spell with a well-organized propaganda machine. We can read in the history books what that led to. What often is not written in those books is that this awful history was not just an inevitable course of events, but a carefully laid out plan that has been prepared for decades, and that the German people were the initial victims of black magic practices. And even worse, remember Göring said it works the same in every country. So how were the people of the US and Canada persuaded to go to war and liberate Europe? If these truths make you nervous, hold on to your seat, because now we are taking it a bit further. Accepting that the bad guys used black magic a long time ago is one thing, but that these magicians are still influencing our lives is something else. We must not forget that media and government, working hand in hand, is the most important prerequisite to inject a population with fear. Most mainstream media are in the hands of a few. This also goes for social media. With this in mind, I think we should be able to recognize black magic in our society. these are the signs we have to look for. 1. Fear is propagated, the fear of a real or promulgated enemy. 2. Media and government are working together to push the narrative day in, day out. 3. Individual rights are rapidly taken away from the scared population. And 4. Huge amounts of money are collected to fund the defense against that enemy. Let's take a look at some examples that check those 4 boxes. What about terrorists, for example? Did government and media go hand in hand to make you frightened day in, day out? Were all kinds of freedom taken away? Did we go to war? And what about climate change and the inevitable end of the world caused by it? How much money is funneled away for this cause? Is it used to force countries to impose all kinds of regulations upon their industry and people? Is the role of the media objective? Is there room for critical voices? Or what about a virus and the fear of dying from it? How real is this enemy? Is a whole population stripped from their freedoms? Who benefits the most here? Before you reject the possibility that this might be black magic, the fear of these enemies has gotten us to give away a lot of our money, freedom, our dignity even. Just let the implications sink in for a moment. I encourage you to research these subjects with the possibility of it being the work of black magicians in the back of your mind. Some people would ask, so who are they and why would they do such a thing? My answer is simple. If you look at the implications it has on our society, why ask that question? It is irrelevant for now. Recognizing the pattern and accepting that this mechanism is in place is most important, because only then the healing can start. Fortunately, there is a simple and effective antidote: exposure. Tell them it is a trick and that they don't have to be scared. After all, a magician's trick doesn't have its effect if you know what his secret is, right? Let people see the truth, or shine the light, metaphorically speaking. Speak truth to the enchanted ones. That will eventually take the fear away and the spell will be broken. I hope this video contributed to your insight on black magic and the misuse of fear. Let this information be the light that will break the spell of fear.